Hey everybody, it's great to see you. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the nature connection. Why we're going to do that. A lot of our talks this month have been about love. I've been on a self-love kick to try to just talk about, what self-love means, what self-love can do for you, what self-love what can allow you to do. The other day we talked about if you say no to something, what are you saying yes to? And vice versa. If you say yes to something, does that inhibit you from doing something else? And today, we're going to talk a little bit more about the self-care and the nature connection. I super enjoy the nature connection. It is a place where I have meditation, peace of mind. Just being outside is very, very healing for me. Very healing. So let's go ahead and jump into it. If you have any questions when you see the replay, just go ahead and post them down at the bottom, and we can talk about that as they come up. All right, here we go. So the nature connection. Love the nature connection. So I like to subtitle this as Getting Back to Your Roots. We've been on this planet, if you believe in evolution, for between 500,000 years to 2 million years. And if you close your eyes and think about the history of humankind during that period, 99.9% of that time was outside. As far as I'm concerned, that's in our DNA. We are born with these roots in our system that say, hey, we need to be outside. We need to be smelling the fresh air. We need to be looking at the trees, the mountains, the animals, the desert, the the different types of environment, the rivers, the oceans. That's what we're ingrained in our body, in our spirit, in our DNA to do. So let's get back to it. So just a quick outline of where we're going to go today. Why is this important to think about? I've kind of alluded to that already. Expanding your senses, how you can really do that, coinciding with the nature connection, and then how to actually do it. How do you get dirty, so to speak? All right, there's different types of modalities and different types of activities and different types of hobbies that can get you more in touch with nature. So here's a few that we'll talk about today: forest bathing, garden therapy, water therapy, grounding. You might have heard of some of these, you might not have heard of some of these, but these are the topics that we'll hit on today. All right, I already talked a little bit about our ancestral roots. All right, we've been out in this environment for so long, and it's only been a very, very short time that we've been confined into these boxes, these sterile boxes, so to speak, where we keep everything super clean and wiped off and no dirt for some of us. For others of us, we do have a little more dirt in our environment, but that's okay. We are programmed for the sights, sounds, smells, and sensations of nature. All right? We're programmed for that. Some people think that it's kind of crazy that I know between 200 or 150 and 200 bird sounds just by sound. But is that really crazy? If we think about, maybe the Native Americans that used to live in the United States, Canada, all over the world for that matter, don't you think they knew every single call of every single bird, every single sound of every single animal? They they could probably sense when different weather patterns are coming. Some of us can do that now, but a lot of us are just like, go whatever. I don't know what's coming. Doesn't make any sense. But if those people that are in the environment all the time have heightened senses, all the senses. And we are really losing touch of that when we stay inside all the time. Confined to these little sterile boxes, as I said before. So, what are the benefits of actually being in the environment? Well, it can help relieve stress. One of my colleagues one time, was not complaining, but I was saying that I just can't do meditation before I learned how to do meditation. But I just can't do meditation. And this one colleague of mine said, well, you probably do meditation more than you think. You're out bird watching all the time. And I'm sure to some extent you are meditating. And the more and more I thought about that, it's true. It helps relieve stress. That's one thing it definitely does. If you can get outside, there's a possibility that can relieve stress for you. It's different for everybody. N equals one. You need to figure out what works for you. It strengthens your immunity. So this is kind of a crazy one, just because, being in our sterile environment, we think going outdoors and, getting dirty actually will make us more sick. That's totally true. I mean, totally true. But just imagine if you were out in an environment every day. Don't you think your body would get used to some of those bacteria that are out there that might not be as virulent for other people because they are out in the environment all the time? That's going to build our immunity. Those little micro doses of whatever, our body's going to build an immune system for that. And it'll help strengthen your immune system. So if that bacteria, whatever, comes in again, your body's able to fight that. But when we live in boxes and we don't let our kids go out and play in the dirt, or they are confined to video games all the time, they're not exposed to microdoses of anything. And I'm not saying every microdose is good, because it definitely is not, but we're eliminating the possibility of strengthening our immune system by keeping ourselves so sterile and inside. Another positive benefit is help sharpen your focus. If you're out in the environment, I mean, I can tell I'm more in tune to bird noises than I am to any other noises, but I'll go out there and I'll hear some random bird noise that nobody else hears because I'm out there all the time. I'm listening. I'm using my senses to be more aware of my environment. For some people, it's smelling. They can smell things a lot easier when they're on a new environment more. Vision. When we're stuck to screens all the time, right now I'm like 2 feet from my screen. That's not doing me any favors, of course. But getting outside and getting that depth perception, looking at the trees far away or the hummingbirds that are flying around the window right now, helps sharpen the focus. And if we don't put in the time to be out there and to use those senses, then they're going to get dull and they're not going to be as sharp. Another positive benefit is helps develop a healthier diet. Okay, that sounds kind of weird, right? But if you're outside and you're more conscientious about being outside, that's going to have ripple effects to other parts of your health and wellness. All right. If you go outside and go for a hike, maybe there's a little bit of, I don't really want to eat this crap because I want to be able to go out and hike again and not be slowed down, or, have a bellyache from some food that I'm going to eat or indulge in, or have a hangover. I won't be able to hike tomorrow because I'm going to have a hangover. All right. So it helps develop a better mindset around nutrition, around a bunch of different things that are health and wellness oriented. And it helps calms the mind. When I'm outside, I'm calm. Um, I've been following some people online about running, and they talk about how hard it is to drag themselves out running. And I don't really feel like I ever have to drag myself out to run. I'm going out right now into the desert and seeing these beautiful mountains, seeing these plants that I'm not normally used to from where I used to live, and hearing all the noises from the animals. I mean, it's super calming, super calming. So these are just some of the positive benefits of reconnecting with nature. So briefly, some other things are better short-term memory, aids in weight management. I sort of alluded to that before. If you're outside, first of all, if you go for a long walk outside, you're away from your food, so you're going to eat less. I know that sounds kind of silly, but a lot of people, if they're around the kitchen, they're going to poke around in the kitchen and they're going to eat more. So if you're outside more and you don't take food with you, then that's less time that you spend with the temptations that might be in your house. Improving vision, I've talked about that already. Increasing longevity. All right. All of these things that I mentioned so far contribute to longevity. All right. Eating better, getting more exercise. Usually people that spend a lot of more time outside are more physically active. As I said before, when you played in the dirt when you were a kid, your immune system got used to some of the bacteria and other harmful things that are in the soil, and you build up an immunity, which is going to increase longevity. All right, boost life satisfaction. These are just studies that, some of this is from studies that just have been done, that people that spend more time outside are just more satisfied with their life. I mean, try it. I have a coach friend that goes for a walk in the forest every day. He's one of the happiest guys I know, right? It helps reduce inflammation because you're not you're distracting yourself from maybe the worries of the world. Yeah, you're away from they're away from your phone. You're not looking at the news. All of these things that agitate you and cause inflammation are less when you're out in the natural environment. Helps improve sleep. When you go out in the fresh air, you usually get a pretty good night's sleep afterwards. And I mean, I can attest to this one. I mean, there's a significant increase in happiness when I spend time outside compared to if I'm stuck inside all day. So that's a lot of benefits about just being outside. That just wants me to go out, makes me want to go outside right now and be out there. All right, so here's the how-to guide of how you can be more connected to nature. First of all, remember that nature just isn't green. All right. One of the most beautiful landscapes is in the desert, some deserts. I have clients that like to spend time at the ocean, and that's their nature connection. The snow. I have a coaching friend that, goes skiing a lot. That's his connection to nature. That's not green, it's white, right? So nature can be a bunch of different colors. So don't try to hem yourself into one or another. Go less mainstream. Take a take a hike in nature. Just sit out there. Get away from the video games, get away from the social media, get away from the screen time, and just get out there. Be part of nature. Enjoy the things that are out there, whatever they are. Get small too. We talk about less mainstream. Go to a park and let a ranger explain something to you that you've never really thought about before, right? Incorporate nature throughout the day. So there's a there's a bunch of research out there in that just having a picture of nature for those people that work indoors a lot can have some calming qualities and some positive effects on people. So if you can't get out, have a window, look out, have a picture of an ocean view of the forest or whatever. Look at pictures on your computer that are of nature without anything else on them. Think about that. One day a week. These next two are really challenges. So, think about taking one day a week and spending it in nature, an extended period of time in nature, whether that's on a weekend or, you have a day off and you can get out and enjoy nature. Try some different things. Get out there. Experience what's out there. Go kayaking, go snowshoeing, whatever resonates for you, but take that one day to do that. Then 2 times a year, take some extended trips into nature, whether that's, taking a nice long drive into a national forest, a park that's close to you, whatever. You don't necessarily have to go camping. You can stay wherever you want, but make that trip, a couple days, maybe a weekend trip, where you spend it in nature doing whatever, just getting away from society. Exercise and eat outside. I really don't like to exercise on the inside. I'd much rather be outside doing my exercise. I teach a class and I try to be outside for that all the time. The only time I'm indoors is if I can't videotape the class, while I'm outside. So sometimes that's a problem. And, otherwise, I'm out there teaching class. Meditate. Meditation is such an awesome tool. Do it outside. You don't do it inside. If you've heard me talk about meditation before, thoughts are not your enemy during meditation. All right. If you're outside, you're going to have thoughts about what's out there, even if your eyes are closed. Your other senses are going to be there to, absorb what is out there as far as smells and sounds and feelings. You feel the stuff on your skin. So take some time, meditate outside, exercise outside, eat outside, take extended trips outside. It's easy. Even in an urban environment, there are places you can still go and spend time outside. I'm thinking about my niece in New York City. She's not far from Central Park. There's a lot of trees there. And I'm sure if you walked a little bit further, you'd be by the Hudson River or the ocean or whatever's there. All right. So getting dirty. So we have 6 pounds of microbes in our body. We actually have more microbes in our body more microbe cells in our body than we do our own cells. So, these had to get there somewhere. If you were a kid and played in the dirt, that's one way that you got microbes into your system. And If you're watching this today, you lived, right? Yeah, you lived, even though you ate dirt when you were a kid. You survived. Love it. So, what are some ways that you can actually get into the environment and actually get a little bit dirty? So, going for a creek walk is a really cool thing to do, especially if you're in a little bit of a suburban or rural area where there's not as many people around. You get too many people in the stream and it causes problems for the stream. Um, Indoor plant caretaking. I have a coaching friend that has a bazillion plants. You know, that's not only cleaning the air, but it's helping her get a little bit dirty when she takes care of those plants. Lie down outside, lay in the dirt, lay in the desert floor, you know, take a walk in your bare feet, walk in the ocean with your feet touching the sand. All right, that's all things that you can do to get dirty. Take a mud bath. That's fun. Do an obstacle course race in the mud. That's fun too. All right. Everybody's going to have their own thing that they like to do. So, whatever it is, get out there, get a little bit dirty. It's okay. If you need my permission so you can go, do something fun in the dirt, go ahead and do it. Can even help you get ready for those things. Just let me know. All right. Garden therapy. So this is kind of weird to group these two words together. Usually when you're doing gardening, and when you're at therapy. But think about that as actual type of therapy. First of all, you're in with the microbes. You're getting dirty. You're touching the earth, which helps with grounding, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. There's something called square foot gardening, so you can find out more about that at squarefootgardening.com. You're getting sunlight. Even if it's cloudy, you're getting sunlight, helping increase the amount of vitamin D in your system. You're more creative when you're making a garden because you kind of have to plan it out, either on paper or in your head or whatever. But that gives you a little bit of creativity, creative vision. You might not think of laying out a garden as being creative, but you still have to decide where all those things are going, right? Line them up. Some people are super creative when we're talking about gardening. You have the opportunity to watch life growing, forces of nature, seeing how plants and animals interact on a very, very small scale. All right, heightening those senses that we talked about, increasing that sensory experience just by having a garden, different types of plants, and those animals that come to visit all those plants. Good for the mind, body, and soul. Some people, I don't think, some people really wait for the weather to break so they can start their garden. All right, whether the garden is fruits and vegetables, self-sustaining, or if it is a flower garden. I don't think that's even the point. The point is getting out there, being okay with being out there, and then using that to kind of like immerse yourself in that particular activity. And for some people, they just like to grow their own food, which is kind of awesome. All right, forest bathing is another one. I would love to do a forest bathing class. So I'm just going to read this first of all. Forest bathing is the intentional practice of connecting with nature and surrounding yourself with the energy of the natural world. So this is a thing. It started in Japan. These are all the things that forest bathing actually does or can do for individuals. It can help you relieve stress, avoid burnout. That's a big thing these days. Boost your immunity. We talked about that already. Increase your focus and memory. We talked about that already too. Improve your heart and your lung health. You're going to elevate your heart rate a little bit when you're out hiking around doing forest bathing. All right. Reduce anxiety and worry. if you're out in the woods, paying attention to your environment, it's easy to get lost in there and forget about what those things that you're anxious about and worried about, and not thinking about those things that you really can't control. Controlling your anger and addiction, and addiction to food. If you're out forest bathing, you're away from those food temptations. So use that as an opportunity if you're addicted to some sort of food in particular. It's a way to get away from all that stuff. Improve your mood and energy levels. Overcome depression and sadness. That's one of the things that they talk about in forest bathing. Speed up recovery from illness and injury. That's kind of a crazy one, right? But think about this. If you're less stressed and you're less angry and you have less worry, then those fight or flight hormones are going to decrease a little bit. All right. And your inflammation will probably go down. So it does make perfect sense that if you do forest bathing, that would help speed up recovery. That one's an interesting one. Enhance emotional intelligence. I love that one. Get better sleep, find calm, creativity, and clarity. Love that one. That's from healingforest.org/walks. All right. Water therapy is the next one. So this could go a bunch of different ways, but cold water therapy, this lady jumped in this water or stepped into this water, and it's kind of a shock to the system. It's a natural stressor. So it's kind of a hormetic stress, a small stressor. It's not like inflammation, over weeks, months, and years. This is a small one. So your body can adapt to that particular thing. And it actually makes cold or hot shock hormone or proteins. So, and those can help with a myriad of different things. That's a whole nother topic. What are the other benefits? Helps your immune system. I mean, all of these things for water therapy are very similar to what we saw for forest bathing. It's doing very similar things, especially when you do these things outside. All right. Grounding is another one, and I think we have grounding next. Absolutely. So grounding is the next thing. So when was the last time you actually touched the earth with some bare portion of your body, whether it's your feet or your hands or whatever? I know my friends that do Spartan races, they're touching the ground all the time because they got to climb on their barbed wire, they got to touch the ground. All right. We get, when we're in the indoor environment, all these positive charges build up. We're electrical beings. We can't, our nervous system is all electrical, positive and negative charges changing all the time. So when we're indoors, we tend to attract a lot of positive charges. Positive charges aren't the good charges. Kind of works opposite of what you think. So when you go outside and touch the earth, you're able to discharge the positive charges, and the negative charges will come into your body to rebalance your system. I've had clients tell me that when they do that, they can really feel a difference. And a lot of times they can't really explain what the difference is, but they just feel better overall. Just crazy. Some other benefits are higher alertness, decreased drowsiness, more mental acuity, and helps moderate cortisol. That's a stress hormone. So get outside, touch the ground. It could actually be concrete that's attached to the ground too. So that can be enough of connection with the earth to have this grounding interaction actually happen. All right, last word, exercising your senses. So here's a couple things you can do. Go ahead and grab a handful of soil or sand from your environment. Watch the clouds for 5 minutes. You used to do that when you were a kid. So why don't you do it anymore? Try it. See what you come up with. Be creative. Go barefoot outdoors. Create a small sandbox and wiggle your toes in it. Or just wiggle your toes in the soil. You can clean your feet. I won't stay dirty forever. Find a stream. Put your feet in a stream. Bring your favorite book outside to read. That's not too hard, right? Stop and look at the moon when it's out. Notice it. Pick a favorite tree. What's your favorite tree? I love hemlock trees, eastern hemlocks. Just beautiful tree. I don't know if squirrels would be considered a tree or not, but they're kind of tree-like. They're a really cool plant. I totally appreciate those. Be in full contact with the earth. Touch the earth every now and then. Look how happy this kid is, just hugging the tree. Be a tree hugger. It's okay. Handle vegetation. When you do yard work, think about it differently. Think about it using your senses more. Instead of being annoyed by some of the things that you have to do outside, use those things to kind of figure out what kind of things really come out and that you really sense that you may have not thought about before. Maybe it's smells, maybe it's like the feeling of whatever you're working on outside. So figure out what those are. Heighten your senses when you're doing these outdoor activities that some people think are really a drag. So what do I do? So I like to bird watch. It's kind of like my meditation time outside. We have some bird feeders here that birds like to come to, so I see those. Sometimes when I am, on a Zoom call, you'll see me kind of jerk my neck to one side. It's probably because there's a hummingbird feeder on the window. I like to hike, bike, and run. Outside specifically, biking inside is kind of boring. Running on a treadmill is super boring for me. So just getting out and being in the environment to do those things is way better for my psychological health. So my question to you for today is, how will you get closer to your roots? How will you get more involved in the outdoors, in the environment? What resonates with you? What can you do that you haven't done for a super long time that you may have neglected because you got tied up with, raising your kids, or, you've been on social media for years and you need to disconnect a little bit. So what is it for you? I'd love to hear about it. When this program gets posted, please, at the bottom, say what you're doing to get closer to a really authentic connection to nature. All right. I really appreciate all of you coming. It has been, I've really enjoyed talking about this stuff. Hopefully you've learned a couple things on how to reconnect with your roots. And I'd love to hear about them after you watch this. All right. Have a great day. Please, you know how to get a hold of me if you have questions. Please let me know and we can talk about those. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.